All right, guys. So now that we are feeling pretty good with variables, we're going to look at applying variables to a previous program. Perhaps you already have it and you got it done, the Olympic rings. That's the assignment or the challenge that I'm giving you to figure out today. So before we dive into jumping into that challenge or anything else like that, let's make a quick program that demonstrates this idea of variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my graphics set up. So import turtle, all right, screen equals turtle.screen, screen.setup 500, 500, and t1 equals turtle.turtle. Again, this makes our graphics, just makes our turtle happen. I'm just going to go to File, Save As. All right, let's put it on the desktop. So there she is. My Python files. All right, this is exercise 4.2 because we're going to enhance our knowledge of variables. So what I'm going to have my code do is I'm going to say t1 dot, let's say forward 100, t1 dot right 90. I'm making a square, you can probably see, so I'm just going to save us some time and copy and paste it. So when I run this guy, all right, I get a nice little square. Now there's nothing remarkable about the square, nothing amazing, nothing wow, mind blown, or anything else like that. It's just a simple square that we have. But we're going to apply some variables to this to make it work a little bit better. So the first thing that I want to do, though, is let's make this square more interesting. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say t1.beginFill, and down at the bottom, I'm going to say t1.endFill. Hopefully you know what this does based on experience. If you don't remember, well, there's your answer. It fills in the shape that it draws. And to make this just a little bit neater, t1.color red. Okay, so now when I run this code, all of my different things make it draw this red box. I've changed the color and things like that. So now what I want to do, though, is I want to make some variables up at the top so that up here, all right, we can change it with a quick setting. You don't have to go through all the code to change a ton of different things. And there's two things that I want to change, or at least have items to adjust: the size of the box and the color of the box. So let's do the color one first. All right, so I'm going to name this a variable. How about box color? And I'm going to label this one green. Okay, now instead of my turtle turning the color red, I'm going to have my t1.color become box underscore color. So now Python has a variable or an association. Everywhere it sees box color, it's going to replace it with the word green. All right, so when I tell my turtle to become the color of box color, it's going to reference back up to here, and it's going to change it. So let's try running it, make sure everything works. And there we go. We got a nice little green box running for us. Okay, so you can do a lot of different things like this, but the neatest part is that you can now up here change your settings, and those settings carry over. You don't have to go into the code anymore. And in fact, you could make your code a little bit more accessible to somebody who maybe doesn't know too much about programming. They can, you can tell them, here's how you edit the code, and here's the only word that you have to ever change. And you do that, your code will adjust for you. All right, so we can do the same thing with the size here. So why don't I call this side length. All right, this is the size of each of the lengths of the side of the square. So we're going to actually do 4 replacements on here and put in side length. So I'm going to leave it at the 100 for now. All right, so side length 100. So what I'm going to do is instead of 100, I'm going to put in the word side length into each of these. This shouldn't change the way our code works. We should still get the same sized blue square. All right, boom, blue square created. Now, let's say I want to change the side length. Let's say I want to make this half the size, and I make it 50. So now when I run it, we should get a square that's smaller. And we did. That's much smaller than the previous one. All right, we can also double it or make it larger from what it originally was. And then we get, boom, big square. Okay? So, what this allows us to do is now have some setting panels up at the top of here so that we don't ever have to go into this code ever again once it's set up. I kind of have like this invisible wall where if I didn't want somebody to mess with the code at the bottom, but they needed to make a really quick small change, I can give them options at the top through variables that allows you to put in a keyword or a variable like side length and then plug in that side length down here. It's a super valuable way to make your code not only easily adjustable at the top, but this is what a lot of programs do when we scale down the complexity so it's a little bit simpler when they make certain items. All right, we can even go, I'm going to go a little bit further. Let's call this the window size. We're going to do two different items. All right, let's call this t underscore height. Let's set that equal to 800 and t underscore width equals 800. All right. So instead of telling screen to set up 500, 500, I'm going to change the height down to 500 on this just because I wanted to have a little bit more of a smaller height. All right. So we plug in the values. All right. I believe that the height is the second one and the width is the first one. If not, well, it'll be very obvious because we wanted the width to be widest, so we got to swap them if we don't get that. But let's see what happens when we run this. Ah, I got it right. So now we set it so that it is 800 wide and 500 tall. So my instincts help me out with that. It's width then height on here. All right, so now we can just go in and we can very quickly change these to fit whatever narrative or size or window that we need. Now that obviously didn't work out well for us, but you can kind of see how this could become useful. You could make a 500 by 500, you could make a 500 by 200, you can adjust these values, all right, and your code or your window size will grab those values as it builds items. This is another example of how everything is interchangeable. You can plug certain things into your code and it will just simply work. If you can think it and you follow the basic rules that I've gone over, you can do all these different weird interactions and things like that. All right, so with this in mind, you're going to take that Olympic Rings program and you are going to make a bunch of different variables up at the top. And in fact, you're going to be making 6 different variables to build. So you're going to have like a color 1, so maybe that's your red ring. Color 2 is maybe your green ring. You're going to go all the way through, but you're also going to make one for ring size. And the ring size should represent how large your rings are in your code. That way, once you get these items set up, you can make that invisible wall. I like to use the number sign or the octothorpe just to kind of show that, like, hey, if you want to adjust things on this code, you never have to go below here ever again because I took care of all the complicated stuff at the bottom, so you don't have to worry about anything but the things at the top. All right, so that is your assignment for this. It should be a pretty quick fix. Make sure it works. Make sure you can change a few items only at the top. So like, for example, with your ring sizes, maybe they are size 100 or 50 or 40 or whatever. Change them into something like 300. See what happens. It's kind of funny. It's kind of goofy, but worst case, you just go back and change them all back to their original size. Try setting the ring size to 10. Try setting the ring size to, I don't know, 1. See what happens. Have some fun with it. And if you want an additional thing, you could do also inc underscore width. So you can actually set like the width value for your rings as well up at the top. If you want to do like, you know, really, really thick Olympic rings, tiny thin ones, ultra wide ones, I don't care what you build. Again, it's your project. You're supposed to be having fun with it. All right. So have some fun with that. I would avoid keywords like width or circle. Like I wouldn't do circle equals 100 because if you try to tell the turtle to do something involving circle and now it has this weird association like circle equals 100, it's going to look a little weird. Or your code might goof up, or it might have a really bad reference point, or something weird might happen. So try to choose your own unique words. Ring size is probably your best bet for that. All right. Have some fun with this. After this, we're going to look at different types of data that we store into variables, 3 main ones that we'll talk about, and then we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and good luck.